Knock, knock.
Who's there?
It's Nancy.
Hey, Nancy, how are you?
I'm
Hey.
great. Thank you. Hi, Nikki. Hi, Gareth.
We are so pleased to have you on the show. Everyone tuning in today, we have another amazing, I can't even speak apparently, it's the end of the day, been a lot of speaking, an amazing guest episode. And we have Nancy, who is an Academy member, joining us.
Woohoo.
And she's going to be telling us everyone about her story. So
Yeah.
we're going to jump into that a little bit. What I'd love to do is just get just a little bit of I guess the backstory, a touch of the backstory, as regards to how you ended up working with us in the academy and coming on board as a member, and
Okay.
kind of just how we met. So share a short little version of that, and then we'll jump into a little bit beyond that. So we obviously know, since we met you and you came over and you became a member, what we want to know is, then after you tell us a bit of how we met and sharing that story with everyone, we'll go back a bit further after that. So yeah, tell everyone how you came across us. Fortunately or unfortunately, you can share as you choose.
I came across you at a gym, and I was doing child minding, and I actually knew who you were, Gareth, beforehand, but I was new to the club, so I didn't know a lot of people, and I tried personal trainers there, and been semi satisfied, except I had one time who she kept piling. I think I was her first ever client. She kept piling on exercises. So by the time she'd finished, I'd had my third consultation with her. I had 2 hours of exercises to do.
Oh my goodness.
So I realized like I had to be more investigative about it. So that's where I really liked. So when I joined the gym, I was getting back into um, shape. When I became a single mom, everything I would do for myself fell by the wayside because I just had to scramble to look after three kids, go
Sure.
back to school, get a job, do all that. So I put my needs last because my kids were um, 13, 8, and 5 years old. So they took a lot of time and attention. So anyway, what happened was I eventually joined the gym, and I'd always been active in my life. I'd always been doing something, and I really missed it. And so where I work downtown, there's a gym kitty corner to me. So I got a membership there, and I started with doing individual equipment, but I had shied away from going to gyms because the equipment overwhelmed me. I didn't know how to use any of it. I didn't even know how to start a treadmill. But I mean, I knew how to do the bikes, and I knew how to do leg machines from physiotherapy. But in terms of how to lift weights or um, do the ellipticals, I didn't really know how to set them up and work them. So anyway, I started doing those, and then I realized there were classes to do, and I was a little tentative because I didn't know what they involved, and I thought, you know, I would be beside somebody who looked like she goes to the gym 3 times a day.
Yeah.
No, you know,
It was so true. Why do we always think that, right?
Yep.
a fitness
Yeah.
model, right? And
Yeah.
but that wasn't the case. It's just everybody, what it is in the class, everybody just does their own thing. They pay attention to their own space, pay attention to themselves. And so I began to build muscle doing body flow. I really enjoyed body flow. I didn't have background in yoga, but or Pilates, but I found it was a really good pace for me, and I could get direction on how to position my legs and all that so that I could build strength. So that's where that all started. And I met you two at the Coxwell gym when I was doing child minding. And then you brought the baby in, and I met
That
her.
seems like a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we just established a connection. And then I joined your boot camps, Nikki, and really enjoyed those. And I remember saying to you, do you have one for people with bad knees? Do you have something you can tone it down? You said, no, nope.
Wait.
I
It
didn't
wasn't the
exactly
full. So
say
I
it
didn't
like
just say
that.
no. I was like,
No,
No.
no,
I was
no,
like,
no, you didn't
no,
say
I
it
don't
like
have.
that.
Do you remember? Do you remember what I actually said? Do you remember?
No, you
Because I
basically,
remember the conversation.
I don't remember verbatim, but what I took
Okay.
from it was that I didn't need anything special, just designed for someone who'd had knee problems in the past and being older. That, the accommodations could be made for anybody, shape, size, fitness level in any boot camp. you know
Boom. You do
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah.
Yes. You
Yeah,
know
that's pretty
what?
much verbatim, apparently.
Yeah, no, that was pretty spot on. That was my
Yeah.
whole point was,
Yeah.
I had enough and still have, sorry, enough, education, knowledge, content in my brain that, I
Yeah.
can accommodate you. So whatever we're doing
Yeah.
is going to be something that you
Yeah.
can do and I can modify it for you.
So,
Um,
yeah.
and you trusted me and you went for it and here we are. What is this now, like 5 years later, something like that? So kudos for you for believing my believing my sales pitch. No, like
She wasn't just making stuff up. She didn't know what she was talking
it wasn't
about.
just making stuff up,
Well,
not at all.
yeah. And sorry to interrupt, but it was also because I realized people in the class were all learning. It wasn't like they were all experts, which is that was a
Yes.
thing in my mind, is that you go in the gym and you're joining, everybody seems to know what they're doing and what equipment to use and how to use it. But there's a reason there's a coach there.
You know,
I have been a coach, so I understand the role, but it was more about lack of self-confidence.
sure.
I've been at one time in my life, I'd been in pretty amazing shape. And then now I was sort of in the worst shape of my life. And 4 decades later. And so I didn't really know what to do, how to start and all that. So
Yeah.
just dive in.
That's
Well, that's awesome. Awesome to kind of hear that journey, and obviously, like you said, we kind of connected, via the gym that we were all associated with, and I just want to share that that's quite impactful, and I think sometimes people don't see this from the other side. So obviously we coach, and for everybody listening as well, you've obviously picked up probably over the shows that we also have myself and Nicky have a 4-year-old daughter. So, having Harley and being in that environment where we could make use of child minding services, we were both kind of working and working out at that gym. And, just for you to know, Nancy, that the impact that had on us, having someone that we trusted and
Absolutely.
had a good connection with Harley. And she was in there at, I don't know, we dumped her in there about 4 months old, I think, to go and work out. So
We're good parents.
good parents are like, get in there. But she's just always been so comfortable, and then that allowed her to go to daycare and be comfortable. And now, 2 weeks from now, she'll be in junior kindergarten. So it's been quite the journey, and we're so grateful that people like yourself were there to kind of help with that process and make us feel comfortable, because we didn't know what we were doing. It's like you're like hot potato as a new parent. You have no idea. You're like, what am I doing with this thing? I don't know what I'm doing. I have no idea. Figure it out.
Yeah.
Well, and sorry, I beg your pardon. Sorry.
No, all I was going to say is, as well as being an Academy member, that's another reason why we really wanted to invite you onto the podcast, was you've been very influential in our life. And, we kind of want to share that and pay that forward as well. You, like Gareth just said, you helped us a lot in working out the parent gig and understanding how we can balance parenting with a fitness regime, with a lifestyle, with a business, and we thank you for that, because without influence from people like yourself, I don't think we'd be where we are today.
Oh, thank you. It's quite the compliment. Well, Harley's a super great kid.
We think so. We're a bit biased, but we think so.
Well, of course, but
She's
they
sweet.
do say your first child is your experimental one. So.
Oh,
Because you're learning from each other, and a child's personality, it can be so strong, right?
And isn't ours just that?
I meant my match. Let's
Your
just
match.
put it there.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's just put that there.
And I think it's just so, like you were saying, Nick, it's so important that is that balance, right? And it's finding that, and we're here, we didn't grow up here, so we don't have our family, so having people that connected to, and having those services available, and having whatever it is to continue that access that you need to fitness, because your mental well-being is so connected to it, and having all those outlets and those people to help, and those people to babysit when you can, or drop your kid at child money or whatever it is. So it's such an impactful thing, and it really does, as you see, it brings people together in so many different areas of life. So, you know, we're, as you said, we're really grateful for that.
Yeah, really grateful. And I think actually it's kind of cool now we're talking about it and looking at it that, you know, we helped you on your fitness journey, but you helped us too. And I think that's really great, right? You know, you shared with us, you know, perhaps the hesitancy you had around getting back into fitness and committing to a regime and being with a coach. And likewise, we had hesitancy about other people being with our kid and trying to figure out being a coach and having a kid. So
still trying to do both those things.
So I think that's really cool. And I think there's a message in there, you know, not just for, you know, consumers that want to get back into, let's say, quotation marks, shape and how to make a start, but also for professionals who want to get back into the industry, right? Like, I think you can help each other here. There's learnings from each other. So that's cool.
Well, you know, Gareth, you touched on mental health and wellness, and that's one reason I joined the gym. I went back to the gym. And because all my life I've been active, and I used to be on teams at school, and I was competitive, both individual sports and team sports. And then in schools, universities, when I went to school, the weight room is something you walk by because only guys use the weight room. You know, women were never in it, never invited into it, never considered going in it. So it's been great. I love doing strength training, especially being older, because, you know, you got to keep your bones and muscles healthy. But one of the main things I have to work on too is mental health. So I do that through, as you know, I've told you before, I've taken myself off refined sugar completely, and that has gotten rid of joint pain for me. It's supposed to help get rid of brain fog, but sometimes it doesn't.
We're all trying to figure out how to do that.
That's why I started at the gym. Is I started as a volunteer so I could have a membership, because if I find, I don't know if this is common, but I find if I don't work out, I get really crabby. So, or sort of snarky, sort of bite someone's head off.
Yep, sounds like me.
And it's not that, I don't know, I just miss I like being coached, I think, is what it is. I like to see if I can do what the coach is asking me to do. And then it's a little personal achievement.
Yeah. Love that. Yeah. So just, you mentioned something that I think is important to go back to is, you know, you kind of mentioned about fitness, you know, kind of in teams, sports teams and activity kind of growing up, and, you know, fitness being in your life when you were younger. What were kind of the main outlets? Like, you obviously mentioned team sports and individual sports, but I'm always intrigued into your first kind of exposure to those things, and what were they?
Oh, parents, play outside, kids. I was born in the 50s. So you just play outside. But my dad believed in, it's raining, you go out, you wear the right equipment, you go out in any weather. Yeah. You know how some people say, I can't go outside because it's raining? Well, that never made sense in our household. So we were always out. We were always scrambling. I was considered a tomboy because I walked along fences and climbed trees and all this kind of stuff. But I was also given opportunities to be active too. I was fortunate to go up to a cottage every summer, and it was on a huge island, and it's like a 250-acre island, and we had the whole place to ourselves. So swimming every day, hiking, all that. And then the summer jobs I had when I was older, they were being a parks and recreation leader, where you design sports and activities for kids. I worked on a horse farm because I used to ride. So I worked with Arabian horses and I showed them. I was camp counselor many times. So I like to be outdoors. That's basically what I'm trying to say. And I like the activities that go with it. So, but now I can't. I used to be a sprinter when I was a teen, and I got a fairly high level. And but now I don't even run to catch the bus. So swimming, awesome. Swimming is a sport for me, and cycling with my knees. So, and one reason I love doing the yoga Pilates is because it builds strength that you don't realize you have until you need to use it. And that's where, because I know you two are always correcting me to get down further in my lunges and squats and things, but I have one knee that if I just go a little too far, it doesn't hurt. It's just really unstable. And I think I'm going to hit the floor. So that's why. But having said that, all these exercises help build the muscles on either side of my knee. And I think I really need that. I used to have pain in my groin, hip flexor area. I don't have that anymore. So I think it's all what it is. It's consistency. It's like being prepared for a roadblock down the way. Like well, for example, I found out today I need cataract surgery, and I'm not going to be allowed to do any activity between 2 and 6 weeks. No bending over, no lifting anything heavy. So that's going to really drive me a little crazy. I'm allowed to walk, but that's about it in terms of exercise. So, so I think
lots of walking for you then.
Lots of walking.
Yeah. So I think
indoor bike might be required.
Yeah. So what you guys have taught me is that, and I really, really feel it since I've joined the Academy, because I'm getting compliments in different ways now, and in terms of my strength. No, just different things I can do now. I think it's the consistency. I want to go every day. I want to do something every day. I feel like it's all manageable for me. I know you can't see 100% maybe if I'm cheating, but
we're watching pretty closely. Don't you worry.
What's my favorite sentence? I know most of the cheats because I invented them.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Nicky knows all the ways to get out of it.
Yeah, but I also wanted so basically you're teaching us to be active and healthy, proper techniques, and how exercise can be just part of your lifestyle. It's just, that's what it is. If you can watch an hour of television, you can do an hour of exercise.
You can watch me for an hour.
You can watch,
So what I really noticed, Nancy, you obviously touched on all the things you did, in athletics and at a high level, and all those things that we truly are what we imprint, what's imprinted on us, or what we we participate in as kids does make a massive difference to our adulthood with exercise, etc. And what I'm also intrigued in is you are very, you make that commitment to do something, and you're very consistent. And, the mentality, like you said, when, your mental health suffering, and as you said, worst shape of your life, you went back to the gym and you made that effort. Yeah. How much of that, because for a lot of people listening, that will be something that people struggle to overcome, is the mental fortitude to go back to something like that when you're in the worst shape of your life, and the consistency. Would you say you put that down to what you learned from being exposed to things like athletics and exercise and team sports?
Yeah. And I just had to have a different mindset, because when I was in high school, I was on volleyball team, basketball team, the swim team, the track team. I did track events, I did field events, and I'm not trying to be boastful, but I excelled at most of them. And plus, I also was a ref, I was a coach. And the reason I'm telling you that is because when I went back to the gym, I couldn't do half the stuff, and it just took me down. Well, not that I had that mindset anymore in my 40s and 50s, but it's just that I had this idea that I was going to be able to get back in the shape I was in my 20s. No.
I can
my body had changed. I'd had 3 kids by then, middle-aged, and just, the wear and tear of life. And so I think my mind is much better now. I don't have to deal with teenagers.
I'm just waiting for that.
No, it's like my kids are independent. So I can now focus on myself without feeling selfish. And that to me was what it was before, that if I go out and go swimming for an hour, which really means I'm out of the house for 2 hours, will my kids suffer? Will they not be doing their homework or something? So that's why when I was sort of a new single mom, and for the following 15 years, I wasn't really putting myself first. I would do sports sort of or activities, dribs and drops, but nothing consistent.
Yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah.
I get the whole returning back to exercise.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, for me, I guess what I can relate that to is coming back after having a baby and
Yes.
assuming I could do everything that I did
Yes.
before.
Yeah.
Um, and you're
Yeah.
right, those goals are unrealistic. And I think the
Yeah.
moment you shift your mindset and make more realistic, attainable goals, then you feel more successful. But I also understand and appreciate the mum guilt. I think,
Mm.
and I think it's something you'll always have, Nancy, even though your kids are older, right? Like as a
Yeah.
mom, and I'm saying this from personal experience every single day, I'm like, oh, I have to get back, or I can only do this because Harley needs XYZ, when actually looking after myself is probably more important, because
Yeah.
then what kind of parent and role model am I if I'm not
Yeah.
looking after myself?
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I think it's kind of cool but also sad that this that you experienced that. How many years ago, Nancy? What was that, like 10, 15 years ago?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
15.
And
Yeah.
here I am now still experiencing
Yeah.
mum guilt. So, that still kind of exists. So, what can we do? How can we shift
Yeah.
that mindset so women feel like, they are empowered and they can make those decisions? I'm
Yeah.
also going to say, I'm sure that there's dad guilt too. I'm just putting that out there, because there are single parents who are fathers as well, and they probably go
Yeah.
through the same thing too.
Yeah.
So, I love that you said, it felt like I was being selfish, but actually, I think being a little bit selfish is actually kind of okay,
Yeah.
Kind of necessary, right?
and
No,
giving
it's good.
yourself permission to do that. So thank you for thank you for sharing that, because a lot of women and men, I'm sure, are feeling those things, both of those things, right? The mum guilt, parent guilt, whatever we want to call it, and
Yeah.
returning back to exercise after having an extended period, but expecting the same, I guess, outcome, whether that's lifting the same or losing the weight
Yeah.
in the same manner,
Yeah.
or whatever that might be. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah. Because I did put a lot of weight on and I wasn't used to handling it. So not that I've ever been super skinny, but I was a teenager in the 70s. Do you know who Twiggy is?
Of
Twiggy was
course.
a British model. So
Yes.
that's every girl, a teenager, wanted to look like her. I looked athletic. I didn't have the right. And nowadays, looking athletic is really cool,
That's it.
right? There's been
Yeah.
a shift. I also noticed when I was working in the child minding, there was more sort of equal parenting between moms and dads than there was from my generation. I'm baby boomer. Our parents had come from World War II. Our parents were very rigid for the most part, your grandparents. And um, so we grew up sort of with the same kind of maybe values, but more lax. I mean, we did have the hippie generation, and all that. But at the same time, some of our roles are what were considered male and female roles within a relationship they went through some murky water. I mean, it used to be, these are men's jobs, these are women's jobs. And then it was all women's. No, we're going to share everything. And then some people adapted to it really well, and others didn't. And what I'm seeing from your generation is way more equality between the mom and dad.
Yeah, and I think
between partners, I guess you say. Partners.
Yeah, and I think what that's done is it's given the ability to for people to have maybe more access as well to their health and fitness, right? Like not having to have one person
Exactly.
out doing 12 hours a day at work while the
Yeah.
other person's at home doing 12 hours a day as a parent, you know, and typically that was the man going to work and the woman being at
Exactly.
home. So
Exactly.
you didn't have that access, and maybe, you know, it was
Yeah.
more a physical job and you got your activity that way. Hence
Yeah.
modern day, it's not the same. So I think now that we've got this a bit more equality, like we found that, you know, bringing up a, you know, a small child is, we both had time for that exercise, right? Like sometimes it was, hey, we were able to share the parenting and be capable, because I think the permission, but also the choice as a dad, from my perspective, is I made a choice to be so involved that Nicky
Yeah.
never felt like I couldn't be on my own. But I know, having spoke to people from past generations, that, you know, the man in the or the dad in the relationship just didn't have the confidence to be on their own with the children, and that maybe the mother didn't feel like they were confident leaving them, so there wasn't that
Yeah.
ability for you to just pop out and go and do some sport or do some
Yeah.
fitness. So it's brought
Yeah.
so many opportunities for so many people.
Yeah, that's well said. That's so true.
Mhm.
So it's really refreshing, because I said to one of my friends, I said, I've never seen so many men pushing strollers before.
Yay!
It's so nice.
I love seeing babies. With
And
them.
so automatically it makes me think that the partner, I mean, it could be a man, it could be a woman, is getting their time on their own, whether it's writing a novel or working out, having a glass of wine with somebody. But that circles back to our mental health, I think, because fitness to me isn't just about the physicality of it. There's a huge, for me, a mental reward that comes from it, the emotional part of it. If I'm going to yell during the day, it might be to yell at somebody to not interrupt my workout.
I love
That
that.
sounds familiar, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
I'm working out.
Yeah.
But no, but because I love the Nock Academy workouts, because they suit me very well. And I'm over 60, and I think I give a different perspective on the value of workouts to someone who is in their 30s or 40s and they've got 4 young kids running around, right? So for me, I also have always said, if you're a parent, now this might cause controversy, I think you owe it to your children to try to live as long as possible. So living a healthy lifestyle is part of that, in my opinion. In my humble opinion, I am HO.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more, and I think we do owe it to our children, because
Well, you owe it to yourself too. Let's just put that there.
Yeah,
Well, yes.
I think
Well,
that
And
comes,
to children.
Yes.
yeah, absolutely. But
Yes.
you know, by owing it to them, you do have to be a little bit selfish. Take time for yourself. Be a
Yeah.
role model, and you know, your kids are going to see.
Exactly.
They're going to replicate what they see, and that's so
Yeah.
important that they do that. And I think as well, like, you know,
Yeah.
I can't let this go without, you know, doing a bit of a sales pitch. But what part of that is having the ability to possibly exercise in an environment where you do have your kids there running around, or you do have,
Sure.
or you
Yeah.
have something so accessible. And you know, and that's really what we
Yeah.
wanted to create, because you know, and people will see it. If you know, you're listening to the podcast, you look at our social media, you see all the stupid videos I make, and I talk about it all the time. I'm like, are you a busy parent that can't fit a workout in? You know what? We've got a 20-minute workout for you can do
Yeah.
when your toddlers are running around the house.
Yeah.
And we have people do it. You see it. You're on the workouts. You see people's kids
Yeah.
running around and their dogs in the shot, and that's what we wanted to create. And we do that. We believe that we do such a great job in creating the accessibility that people need, so there isn't another barrier in their way. It's so important.
Yeah.
But let's also get real. We need that accessibility
Yeah,
too,
true.
right? So
Yeah.
we're a young family, and we want to meet people where they're at.
Yep.
You know, so we get it. We totally get it.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So if we're modeling, for the most part, healthy lifestyle, our kids will too. I mean, if you're the type of family that goes out all the time, with no question, it's not like, oh, I want to watch TV. No, we're going out, bikes. There's no TV now, kind of thing.
You
Then
earn it in our house.
I think you'll have a more well-rounded child than one who just sits in the house. For me, I get antsy, so I can't sit in the house all the time. But I don't know if that's generational, my personality, or the way I was brought up, or what. But I think for the most part, you just don't see kids out running around the streets. Like, but maybe that's also for safety reasons.
I was going to say, I'm sure there's lots of
Yeah.
social
No, potentially, but
circumstances behind that too.
100%, but potentially it's also, you have to be willing to do it too, right? You can't sit on your butt at home and then say to your kids you need to be outside playing. So I think,
Exactly.
to
Yeah.
your point with like the TV,
Yeah.
right? And I think about this all the time with parenting is it's yes, you can have some time where you maybe watch some TV, or Hardy likes to use like the little learning tablets that we get from the library.
Oh, great.
And those sorts of things are part of the day. And I always say that to her. I'm like, she's like, I want to do this and this. I'm like, I get you want to do that because it's fun. I'm like, but you know what we're going to do first? We're going to go for a nice walk, or we're going to go to the park and play.
Yeah.
Just like nutrition, right? You can have candy every so often,
Yeah.
but you have it in addition to the full balanced healthy meal that you eat. So everything is.
Yeah.
So it isn't just about balance. It's about all these things have their place. However, too much of anything, is going to be, too much movement for a young kid can be too much, right? If they're just pushed to exhaustion, as well as too much candy is going to be bad for them too. So it's just about that, creating that balance. And like you said, it comes down to being a role model. If I'm willing to go out on a hour walk, then she's going to be like, yeah. And what's funny, we were sitting there tonight just before she went to bed, and she said, Daddy, I really like it that you take me on the best walks. I'm like,
oh my gosh, what a compliment.
So random. And I'm like, we just go out walking.
Fantastic.
But again, whatever you want to do, right? Your kids are going to embrace it, especially young kids. Maybe not when they're teenagers because they don't want anything to do with you.
Yes.
But, so it's just important, right? We have to role model that, and they're just going to repeat what they see. So yeah.
And plus, even if like a kid doesn't want to go for a walk, or I don't want to do my workout, like, oh my God, do I have to do it? It's like once you start, you just get involved and you forget that mindset you were in before.
Making it fun. And I say this all the time again.
Exactly.
On about my social media videos. I'm like, do something you enjoy to do, because
kids and adults, right?
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
I try to make it fun sometimes. Sometimes I'm funny. I think I'm funny. So yeah. If everyone else does.
And what I like about the exercises I'm doing with you guys is that I think I sort of touched on this, but it's just that I got a few compliments last week. So, and it's because of the workout. It's Nicky, you actually said something about me, about my position and on my leg or something. And it was because I got just a little bit more strength now, I think. Mm-hmm. My rear end isn't as big as it was.
But actually, do you know what? I kind of want to touch on that and come back to something that you said a little earlier, which was about being a little bit older, right? And giving a little insight, I guess, into what fitness, I'm doing fitness in quotation marks, feels like and looks like now you are a little bit older. What does that kind of mean to you? Has it shifted from when you were, what fitness meant to you when you were an athlete compared to what fitness means to you now? Just kind of give us a little bit of a snapshot into that being,
Well, I would say the dedication part of it is the same mindset.
Sure.
Where, I used to go to school early and come home late because you go in the morning for workouts and then you have games or something after school. Well, the same with this. If I know I'm doing yoga at 8:30 Saturday, I'm going to be doing it. Right? There's no question. So what I find though is that I think it's probably more of a North American attitude where once you're considered a senior, and I really am against all these labels, but and I'm in my 60s, so I'm considered a senior. All of a sudden people, their expectations of what you can do are so low, it's almost insulting. It's like, I go for great walks. I walk up, there's this set of stairs, 132 stairs, and my challenge to myself is, can I go the same pace? Just keep it going, not like zoom, stop, zoom, like that. So I give myself little challenges, and I just feel there's not enough out there for people who are older, or maybe I just have not discovered it. I think you go to the doctor and they assume that you're going to need pills for things or something. And where like my doctor wanted to, when I was actually diagnosed, I think I told you, with arthritis in my wrists and my shoulders. And it was quite painful, January 2020, but I had come off Christmas where I had eaten all kinds of crap. I'd eaten butter and sugar, and that was sort of my diet. And so it affected my joint. So I had to get back on that program and drank a lot, and which metabolized into sugar. Yeah. And so so the doctor automatically just wanted to give me steroid injections and give me pills and send me to physiotherapy. But then when I came across this program about anti-inflammatory eating, so basically you start by taking out gluten, dairy, and refined sugar, cane sugar. And then you can introduce things. So when I really focused hard on doing that, the workouts became better. I didn't have to do my against the wall push-ups anymore. And slowly I was so determined to do a push-up again. And anyway, after about 2 months, I finally realized, you know what? My shoulder doesn't hurt anymore. So, but that's where I think part of my athletic training came in, where you are consistent, you just keep trying, and you don't give up, and try to surround yourself with people who are encouraging too, and who will support you. So like the academy, like today in Gareth's class, I just was sort of flopping around. I just couldn't sort of get my energy up, but I was determined to do it because, you know, I wanted to. It's just that for some reason I was just sort of off today.
Well, I think we all have, day. Yeah, I think we all have days like that, you know, and I think what the message was there, Nancy, that I heard loud and clear was, you know, don't just succumb to what the norm or the expectation should be for your age. It would have been so easy for you to say, oh, I have arthritis, I can't do exercise anymore, I'm going to have injections. And I'm not against drugs and injections because they are needed and they are required, but it's easy to try and take that. And then, I mean, I don't know where you would be now if you took that scenario. It's a bit like the Matrix. I don't know where you would be now if you took the blue pill, but you chose the red pill. I can't remember which way round it is in the movie. Anyways, but what I'm saying is you said consistent, and you said, no. I believe in myself more than this, and I know that there is a way through lifestyle choices to influence my health. And, you know, firsthand, I experienced you doing your push-ups on the wall. And can I just ask you this question now? Where do you do your push-ups now, Nancy?
On the floor.
On your knees?
No. Well, I try not to, unless it's like a ladder situation.
Stop being humble. Tell me where you do. I saw you do it this week. Where did you do your push-ups this week?
On the floor.
On your
straight leg.
On your toes.
On your toes.
On my toes.
Your toes. So in January 2020, you had inflammation in your wrists, in your shoulders, that prevented you from weight bearing. And if I remember, it was one wrist more than the other.
Yes, it started with one wrist. Went for x-rays and they told me, you know, all this stuff.
They told you all this stuff and
I
you were
was
like,
so mortified.
And you were like, poke it. I'm going to do something about it. And I said, yes, we are. Just like you don't need a special class for your knees. We can accommodate you where you're at. Push-ups on the wall, whatever it was. And here we are, September 2021, and you're doing push-ups on your toes.
Yes.
No, but like serious. And you know what? That wasn't me. That was all you, right? You made those decisions. You made those lifestyle changes and you made that commitment. And I think that whole story is so empowering for anybody who may be listening, who's perhaps of similar age, or perhaps does have arthritis, or has recently been diagnosed with arthritis.
Or any limitation.
Well, and that's what I'm just about to say, going back to what Nancy said as well. Like, don't let those labels dictate what you should be doing.
And I have that mindset too, that I don't want to look my age or act like my age. I want people to think I'm like 20 years younger than So what I'll tell you, when I go to Shoppers Drug Mart and I say, may I have the seniors discount? This is where I'm hypocritical. And they don't ask for ID. I'm quite insulted.
That's awesome. And you know what I think as well,
That's
like
fun.
how much it's changed just generationally, like how much it's changed as well, right? Like and it is getting, you know, just from my opinion, from what I see, it is getting different, right? There's, you know, just for example, our platform, like we've got people from early 30s right up to, you know, well into the 60s, and there's this real acceptance, and you know, maybe, you know, we do a little bit to build that, but I think it is just from the people that have come in and joined and become part of it, and everyone comes in and sees that from day one, and sees that everyone's doing these same workouts. And then we were wrong, some of them are tough, like we were joking about the push-up ladder that I made you do today, but it's everyone's able to come in and do it regardless of, you know, any preconceived notion that they can't, or any label that they've got, and everyone just comes in and does it. And you know, that comes, yes, from the coaching, but it comes from the people that are in the community, and that's what's so important to us.
And the community, they're genuinely nice people.
Yeah, we kick them out if they're not.
You attract nice people around you.
Deleted.
We just ban them if we don't like them. We're like, no, we delete you. You can go. No, we don't really. Well, some we might, if we ever have to.
Wait till Harley's about 8 or 9 and she's going, Dad, don't talk to my friends because they don't like dad humor.
There.
Dad humor.
I'm gonna be when she's that age.
Like dad humor.
When I talk to her friends, I'll be selling them all a membership. I'll be like, "What do your parents do for exercise? You should sign them up." I'm not. No, she's gonna hate me.
Buy this for their Christmas.
Yeah, you could get this for your parents for Christmas. It's a membership.
Hilarious. Hey, look, while we're talking about labels and stigmas, I'm curious to know, have you ever experienced fitness ageism?
Well, yes, sort of. Yes. There was a time I went to do a pump class, and this guy, I got my weights and stuff, and he basically told me I chose something that I probably couldn't manage. And I immediately thought, I didn't think it was my sex. I thought it was because I was older, but that was me. But ageism, yes, for me, it's not just in the fitness realm. Like, you can't do that. Like a doctor saying, no, you probably shouldn't be doing this because your knees, or that I was told I shouldn't do squats. I shouldn't do anything kneeling. And so I try, it's a mind over matter thing. I don't have pain doing them, but I don't really know the reason why I was told not to do them. But I think in general, for my peers, they just give in to their age. It's like, oh yeah, I'm not going to do this. So, I hurt my wrist. I'm going to wear this wristband. I can't do anything. And that's just like, and I try to, I don't know if it's exactly ageism. It might be a misnomer, but I try to prove it wrong. I mean, there are lots of people in their 60s and 70s who are swimming and really active.
Yeah. Climbing mountains and running marathons and all sorts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, the first time I felt it, actually, to be quite honest, I was 35 and I had to get an amniocentesis because I was pregnant with my daughter, Amy, and they called me a geriatric pregnancy. And I was so gobsmacked. Yeah. Did you get that, Nikki?
Yeah, I was 37.
Geriatric.
I was 37 and I had to have extra special, geriatric tests.
I thought, how insulting. Who invented that? A man?
Yeah, maybe. Yes. Maybe.
But I mean, I thought there'd be a kinder way to say something. And but I felt it in ageism in the workforce too. All of a sudden you get sort of excluded from certain activities or meetings.
I think that replicates itself in the fitness industry too. And you know, I can think of a time. So I've been in the industry just over 20 years, and I remember looking at a schedule of group fitness classes. And you know, you mentioned pump being, you know, a weight-based group fitness class.
Yeah.
And I remember looking at schedules and there being a 50+ class for 50. I have friends of mine that I work out with that are 50, and these people are like deadlifting like, you know, 3 times their body weight.
Wow.
And you know, they're doing things that are, you know, feats of strength,
Yeah.
doing, you know,
Yeah.
cardiovascular exercise with, you know, an intensity
Yeah.
that a 20-year-old would be pleased with. And yet
Yeah.
only 15 years ago there were group fitness schedules with seniors classes that were for people 50 and over. I'm like, that
Uh,
blows my mind that in 10 years, that's
yeah.
me in 10 years, you in just a
Yeah.
little bit less than that.
Yeah.
So bearing that in mind, and the things that you've
Scary.
just said, Nancy, for any fitness professionals that are listening, or fitness management, what can we do? What can we change? What language can we use? How can we be more inclusive and supportive by communicating, you know, with you guys and giving you what you need in a
Yeah.
non-derogatory manner?
Yeah. So I think a large part of that is understanding, like we understand, especially postmenopausal women, how important our bone health is. And so I think we need strength and weight bearing exercises. And so maybe if I come in and I say, okay, I'm 65 and I don't know where to start, what can I do? And then you can put me in a swimming pool. That's great. It takes the pressure off my joints and it's good for heart health. But I also need to be lifting some kind of weight and doing weight bearing exercise and getting on the ground and doing those hip raises, and which I really like doing all that stuff. I like challenging my core. I don't have back problems because I keep my core pretty strong. And I think just understanding what the person's background is too.
Yeah.
I mean, making judgments about people based on what they look like is a pretty standard thing, but it works two ways too. I mean, I say that person's young and, you know, and make some wrong judgment about them. But I think primarily is, I don't know what kind of training new trainers get. Is it broad? Does it cover all age groups? Does it take into account somebody's coming back from an injury, or is it more theoretical than pragmatic? So I think I think from a fitness professional's point of view, it's hard because you have to know all the physical work and strategies, but you also have to understand the mindset of someone. I used to teach swimming, and you teach kids, it's a blast and they're all goofy and all this stuff, and they want to try anything. But when you teach adults, they come in with really deep-seated fears.
Yeah.
Something has happened. They've got pulled under an undertow. They're afraid to put their head in the water. Some didn't even shower. Okay. And so then you have to teach them how to blow bubbles in the water, or maybe just put water on their face. So I think it's the same kind of strategy you have. You have to look at each person as an individual and see what they want. But when you're doing your group activities, when you're making all these suggestions with accommodations, I love it, because some days you'll say, if you want to go on your knees, you can. And I say, I do want to go on my knees, but I'm not going to do it. You know,
We've given permission. Yeah,
That's it.
yeah,
Sometimes
yeah.
you just
you
need
know,
permission.
but I like your fitness classes because you always remind, I never get tired of it. You remind me how to stand. You remind me, you know, how when you give us 2 or 3 exercises to do back to back, I have to see the first one again before I start, you know, because I think if I do them with you as you're demonstrating, I'm going to remember, but then I forget some little thing. But I just think it's just showing where the exercise is not, just doesn't have to be done this way. There's room to go. There's room to move. Anybody can do it. But you have to understand, like if I say to you, well, I really want to do that push-up, but I have a sore shoulder. So what can I do? Then you have the answer for that. I think it's just the basic, people want to be heard, and they don't want to be sort of talked down to, which you guys would never do. But I just think maybe like that 50 plus class, that's automatically, this is where my hate of labels comes in. Labeling people as not being adequate, where maybe the 50-year-old is way fitter than that 25-year-old.
Too true.
So many of them are, and I love that.
Great points.
So many great points, and I think just to kind of circle back to answer one of your questions, and I say this because we had an episode last week, actually the week before, with Daniel Smith, and we were talking about fitness professionals and education, and we spoke about communication skills. And here's where I think it is when it comes to education, Nancy, and to your question of where's that education is. Yes, we speak about the different demographics that we see, and yes, we talk about that in education when we're educating other trainers, and when we've been on courses, we've seen this. What I think we're lacking in the industry is that we're lacking the way to communicate it, and that's the problem. Is they understand theoretically what it is, but then what happens is they step in, they don't have the communication skills. They see someone that is this older than their grandparent because the trainer might be young, and they're like, oh, well, that person can't do that because they're old.
Exactly.
And then it comes out in a way which can be, then maybe kind of talking down, and someone's probably not going to like that from someone in their 20s. So you just need to learn that. And I didn't learn that for a long time in my career, but what you learn is you learn how to communicate something so it's empowering. So even though I'm saying to you, hey, like you said, hey, if you need to, drop down on your knees for a push-up, that's for anyone, whether the person's in their 30s or their 60s on the session.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is, this is why you do it. And it's language that empowers somebody, and that's what we're missing in the industry, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Well, what does Nancy think? I mean, you've been in enough fitness scenarios, classes in the gym. What do you find? The language and the way things are described to you. What do you find encouraging and inclusive? Just to give people out there that are listening, some ideas.
Do you mean in terms of your instruction?
Yeah, just absolutely. I think sometimes what Gareth was saying is there's that barrier, right? Like, just like if, let's say, somebody's first language isn't English, then we tend to talk differently when we probably shouldn't. When you talk to a child, you change your vocal tone. So
you do,
how can we approach that conversation with somebody that is 65? Without being rude.
Well, I think it's, what it is too. I think it's just being cognizant of what kind of problems somebody could have doing whatever activity you're doing. So if I've got a barbell on my back, or shoulders rather, and you want me to squat, I might be leaning too far back or too far forward or something. And then if I see you model it and I hear the words, the vocabulary that goes with that while you're modeling it, then I get it. If you just tell me, I'm a very kinesthetic learner. I do, and I watch. On auditory, I have to hear things 20 times. So I think as long as you're modeling everything and you can sort of predict, I think parents are good like this too, predict what can go wrong. Then it probably encompasses all age groups. I don't know if that's clear, what I said.
No, I think it is. I think it's leading by example and being fully engaged with your client. That's what I'm hearing. Not just deadlift, hinge at the hips, right?
Yeah. So I think you have to be a bit of a physical therapist too, don't you?
Yep.
You have to understand how the musculature works, the ligaments, the joints, and all that. And if something's swollen, and this exercise may not be for this person because they're going to favor their other leg or something and then throw everything out of whack. I don't know. But I just know from when I was teaching ESL, you're right. There are expressions we say, like, so in English, we can say, I don't mind, sort of like, oh, I don't care, like as it doesn't bother me. I'm easygoing. But in some languages, they think you're being really mean and you don't really care about them because it's very literal. So I think maybe that kind of thing, as long as you use clear, simple language, you're demonstrating, and then you add some provisions. So if your knees are like, you tell us to get our knees over our middle toe and all that, and if my legs just are going in, maybe the weight's too much for you. Maybe you need to not go down as far, or some, I actually don't know what the remedy is, but
So many things, but
some people just maybe don't have that strength yet. So therefore, maybe you can do this other exercise to build that strength. Well, I don't know what the answer is, but I just, because obviously everybody comes in at different stages in their fitness.
yeah, it's some really important points there. And I think, the message is that when we're coaching is we coach, hey, like you said, right? And you've picked that up obviously from our sessions and everything you've been exposed to in fitness is it's, hey, if this is happening, try adjusting it like this so you can be more successful, as opposed to what sometimes we do. We look around and we're like, oh, that person's out of shape or that person's old, so they need to do that. So I'm going to tell you, hey, you know what?
Yeah.
You need to put your weights down because you're old. What I'm saying is, hey, if your technique's off, then reduce the load and get it right. And it doesn't matter who takes on that advice, right? And again, empowerment. And to your point about the communication and the words too, something that rings true for me is you said to keep it simple. And this is a great tip for fitness professionals and anyone that coaches anything: is talk to people with what you want them to do. This is another big fault of communication skills, is when I hear people coaching, it's, hey, everyone, we're going to do a squat, so don't lean forward too far, and don't let your knees roll in, and don't do this and don't do that. We don't hear that in communication, especially if English isn't your first language and I'm communicating in English. So talk to what we want, right? And we all know this because, and this is always an example I give when I'm teaching education, is we've all seen the credit card machine at the store where you put your card in and it says on there, do not remove your card. And what do you do every time you do that? You remove the card, because we don't process those bits. We process the remove card bit. So it's the same thing. If I want somebody to, that's why, as you said, push your knees out in line with your toes, rather than me saying, don't let your knees roll in, because then people are like, what? Well, how do I do that?
What does that mean?
And they just hear knees roll in. They're like, oh, my knees should be rolling in. And you know this. Demonstrate something to somebody incorrectly, and they'll copy you and do it incorrectly. 9 times out of 10, right? So we, like you said, we role model, we keep it simple, we speak to what we want people to do rather than what we don't want them to do. So important.
So very positive. Try not to use no negative words. And I really rely on you guys correcting me, because I don't have a mirror. I miss the mirrors from the gym in a way. But I can't always tell. Like, so it's like if I was on yoga and I'm on doing a downward dog and then we do a 3-legged dog, I can't tell. You'll say bend the leg and I can't tell, am I supposed to bend it like this or like this or like this? And then you get us correcting our armpits and that puts our leg in the right place.
You are listening. You are listening.
I know, because was it yesterday or the day before? It was all of us. It was apparently all of us had our armpits.
All of you. Steer that right armpit down. Junk. Everyone dropped their armpit and their leg went.
Some exceptional coaching there.
Do you know what but you know what I'm hearing here from this whole communication thing? And I think this is the most inclusive takeaway. You don't need to coach a modification until you're in the movement, because otherwise it's an unconscious bias. So if I look at you, Nancy, and I'm like, well, you're 65, so I'm going to say, hey, Nancy, go lighter on the weight. Don't worry about going so low. And I haven't even seen you move. That's an unconscious bias of mine. That's me labeling you rather than saying, here, Nancy, let's do a squat.
Let's see what you can do.
And then I say, let's work on range of motion. Maybe we drop the weight down until we get the fundamentals of the squat nailed.
Right.
And that could be anybody, regardless.
Right?
Of who they are.
Exactly. That's not age. That's applicable to everything. Sex, age, different language, someone from outer space, whatever it might be. You have no right to give a correction on something you haven't seen. So wait for it. Wait for the movement.
Exactly.
Yeah, and trust is a big part of that too, right? We spoke about being able to communicate, drop the judgment, our initial judgments and our biases, and try and be as inclusive as possible at the beginning, because then what you happen is you build a relationship. And now I know I'm watching my, our big coaching screen down here in the studio, and I can just quickly in the moment say, hey, Nancy, or hey, Bob, or hey, whoever, hey, adjust this, adjust that. But when you build that trust and that rapport, is then it's coming from the right place, and that I understand you, and I know when you need that correction. But you can't just jump into that. You have to build that relationship with people, and that's part of the whole process, the communication skills. So,
And it's like it seems to me almost every class I need some kind of tweak or correction. but I try to pay attention from the time before.
Yeah.
But I just, I don't know.
Well, and you've given me some of my own corrections right back, and it's kind of
Yeah.
you know what though, it's a really nice compliment because we just put loads of words and verbiage out there, just hoping that it might stick.
Well, it
I'm
makes
really happy to hear
sense.
that it's stuck.
No, but it makes sense if you say not twist. What did you say? Move your armpit. Like you're basically trying to get us to square up our shoulders,
Pretty
right?
much,
Because I guess
yeah.
we were all like this or something.
Yeah, twist it.
But we couldn't feel that. Like I was so focused and trying to keep my leg up there and trying to have equal weight in my arms that I didn't realize my armpit was off. So I was really appreciative of that because once I moved it, it was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, love it.
Sweet.
So
Otherwise,
important.
your other arm gets all jammed up. Yeah.
So I've got one last thing that I want to ask you. So not really changing direction, but I have got a question I'd like to finish all the guest shows whenever we have members on the show. Is I like to get an idea of what is your favorite exercise to do or your favorite type of workout.
Okay. Well, it's actually I love swimming.
Okay, we don't offer that.
Can't help you there.
No pool in our house, but that's okay.
Well, you know
answer.
why? Because, but this is the whole thing. I want the whole thing. I want the house or cottage by the lake. I can swim in the lake. I can, that's no. Okay. So the exercises I like doing, and sometimes it varies because it's sort of based on sometimes it's based on my mood in a way.
That makes sense.
But I really like the Pilates, even though there are there's one exercise I hate doing. I mean, I don't care for it very much, which is the one when we're all in our fours and you ask us to lift our knees 4 to 6 inches off and then keep them there. I find that brutal. But I'm getting better at it.
But you secretly love it because that's why you brought it up.
Yeah. But, well, that's it. See, I like the challenge. I like to know I
Yeah.
can beat a challenge. Maybe that goes back to my competitive days.
100%.
I don't feel like I'm very competitive now. I am with myself.
Well, you are.
Yeah, you're competitive, for sure.
So I really like it. And I really like the yoga because I'm finally really getting it. I started yoga with body flow, which is not true yoga, I don't think. And then the yoga you taught at the gym, Nicky, and then I realized like I couldn't hold long movements. So what I like in yoga now is that I can do, oh my gosh, warrior 2, and I can get down lower. That's that's a big deal for me. I know it's not, most people seem to be doing it, but it's because I had a hard time getting down. So, and I love doing like lunge twists and that kind of thing. So because I feel like I'm getting more flexible, but I like it that at the beginning of the Pilates class, I'm feeling a little tight and yoga ability too. But then by the end of it, I feel like I'm almost an owl.
Yeah.
Nice.
Spinny head.
Yeah.
Generally the mind and body.
Sorry, so that was a very indirect answer. It's not really one specific exercise. It's the whole, it's like what do they call those big meals at McDonald's? It's like the super meal, happy meal, whatever. It's like you want it all.
Yeah.
The
Yeah. No,
fries,
it
the
makes
burger,
sense.
the shake, it's
Yeah.
not just the fries that do it for me, it's the whole thing. So yeah. And then I like doing the boot camps too, where my heart really gets racing, but I just feel I'm not that good at transitioning. I'm a bit slow transitioning.
Well, it doesn't seem that way, but I like that the mind body kind of style of things, right? Like the Pilates, the yoga were kind of top of your list. I actually haven't had that answer yet, so that's good.
Well, it's true, and I tell you, can I demonstrate sort of? Okay, so when you're lying on your back and you say raise your right leg and then raise your left leg, the very first class I did with you, my thighs hurt just doing that, but I didn't want to admit it because no one else was admitting it. So then. But now I can do it with much more strength and confidence. Okay. So this is what I mean. The strength and the stamina comes over time when you don't even know it. And then it's just like somebody says, wow, you look really good. And you say, oh, thank you.
Well,
my coaches.
is a great place to finish, because it finishes on one of my favorite things to talk about, which is the
Yourself?
number one fact myself. Yeah. The number one factor is in achieving any goal, regardless of all the little details. If you want to work on a hierarchy, the most important thing, the foundation of that, is consistency. So super important. Okay, well, on that note, we're on kind of time for, just over an hour here, so we're going to kind of wrap the show up. But I'd love to, first of all, just express my gratitude for you, Nancy, for taking some time to come chat to us, to be on the show, and record this episode that I know a lot of people, it's going to resonate with so many people that listen, and there's some really important messages in there. Nick, do you have anything else to say you'd like to finish with?
Yeah, again, I just want to say thanks so much, Nancy. I love that you have been influential in our life, and I love that we have been influential in yours.
Oh,
and
very
it's
much
those
so.
meaningful connections that are super important, right? And I think they go a long way in creating who you are, how you interact with people, how, I don't know. Without getting too emotional, thank you very much for everything you've done for us, and I love to give it back, pay it forward to you. So thank you for coming on today and sharing your story. Again, like Gareth said, just some great messages there, and just moments and insights on where we can all be more mindful, and really think before we speak or think before we act, so everybody feels included.
Well, and thank you. And you two are, I think you're like a power couple, right? And you work very well together. And I love your podcasts together. They're hilarious.
Thank you.
But you're very encouraging. I mean, people won't come back if you're dismissive or not encouraging. So yeah, you really, I think you have good people around you, and you have a lot of us following you because we really, really believe in you. At least I do, for sure. And I really think you have my best interests at heart. So I feel heard. And speaking of compliments, Nicky, you are extremely good at extracting knowledge from what someone says and putting into succinct chunks of language. You're really, really good at that. You should actually think about editing or something.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
In all your spare time.
She's got lots of it.
All that time.
She's doing nothing most
in
of the
my
time.
25th hour of the day that I have. Thank you for that compliment.
No, you're really good at it. And you'll listen. There was one podcast you were listening to Gareth. He talked a bit, and then you just, okay, now from what you said, this is what I got. And you said it all like in 2 or 3 sentences. And that really, really helps because you're summarizing. It's like you're doing an abstract of a whole conversation. So
she's learned to summarize me over the years, apparently, because I talk too much.
No, but that is quite the skill.
So
that's
true.
That's a high level English skill.
And this is why it took me all this time, and I had to bribe Nikki into a podcast, telling her that it would be great for the business because I knew that she'd be so good at it. She didn't believe me, but here we are. So good message. Really good. All right, we are going to wrap up the show. I appreciate your compliments. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for listening. We appreciate you being here as always, listening in. I hope you got something impactful, and if you did, please share this episode with someone you love and care about. Get the message out there for them, but also to help us and get the message out there so more people hear it. We really appreciate it. Head over to the show notes. You'll find the information there to join our Facebook group where you can just interact with us. You can let us know what you want to hear about on the show. You can let us know your feedback on the show and anything else. We're going to be running polls on there and all sorts of stuff for you to check out. So please head over there and have a little look. You can also find us on social media. The links are in the show notes. And that's it for today. Thanks for listening, and we will catch you on the next episode.